The day my father died, he squeezed my hand with the little strength he had left. "Ethan," he whispered, "promise me something." "I'm here, Dad. Just tell me." "You must marry Sophia Bennett." I stared at him. "What? I don't even know her." "You don't have to understand today." "Dad, this doesn't make sense." "It will, someday." "Why would you ask this from me?" "Because both families will lose everything if you refuse." I shook my head. "There has to be another way." "There isn't." His breathing became slower. "Promise me." Tears blurred my eyes. "I promise." A faint smile appeared on his face. "Thank you, my son." Those were the last words I ever heard from him. 3 days later, I sat across from Mr. Harrison in his office. He slid several documents toward me. "These are your father's final instructions." I looked at the papers without touching them. He really planned all this. Mr. Harrison nodded. "Your father signed the agreement years ago. Why didn't he tell me?" "He wanted you to live freely until the time came." I laughed bitterly. "Free? This doesn't feel like freedom." "I understand your anger." "No, you don't. I knew your father for 30 years. Then tell me why he would decide my future." "He believed he was protecting you." I leaned back and closed my eyes. "I'm marrying a complete stranger." "You are honoring your father's final wish." I stayed silent for several seconds. Finally, I signed the papers. "If this saves his company, I'll do it." The wedding arrived far too quickly. The church felt colder than any place I had ever entered. When the music started, everyone turned toward the entrance. Then I saw her. Sophia Bennett walked slowly toward me in a beautiful white dress. She never smiled. She never looked excited. When she reached the altar, she kept her eyes forward. I quietly said, "Hello." She answered without looking at me. "Hello. Are you okay?" "I'm fine." "You don't sound fine." "It doesn't matter." Her voice was calm but distant. The minister began speaking. I barely heard a word. When it was time for our vows, I looked at her. "I, Ethan Carter, take you as my wife." Her expression never changed. "I, Sophia Bennett, take you as my husband." The ceremony ended with polite applause. As we walked together, I whispered, "We don't have to pretend when we're alone." She finally looked at me. I wasn't pretending. Her answer stayed in my mind during the entire drive home. I wasn't pretending. I looked out the window. "Then why do you seem so unhappy?" She folded her hands. "I'm tired." "From the wedding?" "From life." I wanted to ask more, but her quiet voice told me to stop. When we reached the mansion, Daniel was already waiting outside. "There they are," he said with a wide smile. "The happy couple." I forced a smile. "Thanks for coming." He patted my shoulder. "I'm family. Of course I'm here." Then he leaned closer. "I hope married life doesn't distract you from the company." "It won't." "It better not. Investors are nervous." "I'll handle it." "I'm sure you will." His smile looked warm, but something about his eyes felt cold. Sophia remained silent beside me. Daniel turned toward her. "Welcome to the family, Sophia." "Thank you. I hope Ethan treats you well." She answered softly, "I can take care of myself." Daniel chuckled. "I like confidence." After he left, I watched his car disappear. "I don't trust him," I said. Sophia glanced at me. "You shouldn't." I frowned. "You barely know him." "I know enough." "What does that mean?" She looked away. "Forget I said anything." Before I could ask another question, Mr. Harrison walked inside carrying a small wooden box. "Ethan, your father wanted you to have this." He placed it in my hands. Inside lay a sealed envelope with my father's signature. I reached for it. Mr. Harrison gently stopped me. "Not yet. You expect me to wait?" "Your father gave one condition." "What condition?" If your marriage begins falling apart, then you may open the letter. I stared at the envelope. So he expected problems. He expected life. After he left, I placed the letter inside my desk drawer. That night, the silence between Sophia and me felt heavier than any argument. "I'll sleep on the couch," I said. "You don't have to. I think it's better. If that's what you want." The room grew quiet. I closed my eyes, but sleep refused to come. Hours later, I heard soft footsteps. Then a gentle voice reached my ears. "So many years, and you're still the same." I stayed perfectly still. A moment later, she whispered one word. "Sonny." My heart nearly stopped. No one had called me that since I was a little boy. I slowly opened my eyes. "Sophia." I whispered. "How do you know that name?" I sat up so quickly that my heart pounded against my chest. "Sophia," I asked, "how do you know that name?" She froze beside the bed. I didn't mean to wake you. You called me Sonny." Her eyes dropped to the floor. "You were dreaming." "No." I stood and faced her. "Only one person ever called me that." She stayed silent. "Answer me." "I'm sorry." "Sorry isn't an answer." She took a slow breath. "Please, not yet." I wanted to keep asking, but something in her voice sounded frightened instead of dishonest. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen. A warm plate waited on the table. I blinked. Grilled cheese and tomato soup. Sophia poured coffee without looking at me. "You skipped dinner yesterday. How did you know this is my favorite?" "I guessed." I smiled sadly. "Nobody guesses that." She changed the subject. "You should eat before work." I watched her for another moment before sitting down. Later that afternoon, dark clouds covered the sky. Thunder rolled across the city. Without saying a word, Sophia walked through the house, closing every window. "You don't like storms," she said quietly. I stared at her. "I never told you that." "You looked uncomfortable." "That's more than looking uncomfortable." Lightning flashed outside. She placed a cup of tea beside me. "You always held something warm when you were scared." My hands tightened around the cup. "Who told you that?" She looked away again. "No one." Before I could speak, the front door opened. "Ethan!" a familiar voice shouted. I smiled for the first time that day. "Lucas." My oldest friend pulled me into a hug. "Married already?" he laughed. "Life moves fast." "It certainly does." He greeted Sophia politely. "It's nice to finally meet you." "You too," she replied softly. Lucas wandered into the living room. His eyes stopped on a small wooden bird resting on the bookshelf. He picked it up carefully. "I haven't seen this in years." "You remember it?" I asked. He laughed. "Remember it? You carved this with a pocket knife when we were kids." I frowned. "I did." "You gave it to that little girl." "What little girl?" Lucas looked surprised. "The one named Sophia." The room suddenly felt smaller. My pulse quickened. He held the bird toward me. "Don't you remember?" I stared at the wooden bird in Lucas's hand. My fingers trembled as I took it. "I made this." Lucas nodded. "You spent 3 days carving it." "I don't remember." "You cried when she left." The words hit me like thunder. I cried. "You searched the river every summer, hoping she'd come back." Broken memories rushed through my mind. A little girl laughing. A sunny afternoon. A wooden bridge. Someone calling, "Sonny." I grabbed the edge of the table. My head. Lucas stepped closer. "Are you okay?" I remember her smile. Sophia quietly walked into the room. When she saw the bird in my hands, tears filled her eyes. Lucas looked between us. "I think I'll give you two some privacy." After he left, silence filled the house. I looked at Sophia. "Tell me the truth." She wiped her tears. "What truth? Who are you?" She lowered her head. I think you already know. Say it. She closed her eyes. I'm the little girl you used to spend every summer with. My heart pounded. No. It's true. You disappeared. My parents died in a car accident. I'm so sorry. I was adopted by another family. Why didn't you tell me? I wanted to. Then why stay silent? She looked directly into my eyes. Because I was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid you blamed my family for leaving. I was just a child. I knew that. Then why? Because losing you once nearly destroyed me. I couldn't survive losing you again. My eyes filled with tears. I searched for you. I know. I never stopped wondering where you went. I never stopped thinking about you. I laughed through my tears. All this time. Yes. I married my childhood best friend. She smiled for the first time since our wedding. I recognized you the moment I saw you at the altar. And you said nothing. I wanted you to remember me on your own. I stepped closer. You should have trusted me. I know. I missed you. I missed you every single day. Without thinking, I hugged her. She hugged me even tighter. For the first time since my father's death, I felt my heart begin to heal. Neither of us noticed the hallway door standing slightly open. Hidden in the shadows, someone quietly listened to every word. A floorboard creaked. I turned toward the sound. Nobody was there. Far outside, a car engine started. Daniel smiled to himself as he drove away. Now he knew the truth. And I had no idea he was already planning to use it against us. The morning after Sophia told me the truth, I stood outside my father's old office. I looked at her. Are you ready? She nodded. I've been ready for years. I unlocked the door. Dust covered the shelves, but everything else looked untouched. I took a slow breath. Dad spent countless nights in here. Sophia gently squeezed my hand. Maybe he left us answers. I hope so. We searched every drawer. Nothing. Every folder held ordinary business papers. I sighed. Maybe we're chasing ghosts. Sophia stopped beside an old wooden cabinet. Ethan. What is it? It's locked. I frowned. I've never noticed this before. I searched my father's desk until I found a small brass key. Let's see. The lock clicked open. Inside sat a faded leather box. I carefully lifted the lid. Bundles of old letters rested beneath a stack of contracts. Sophia whispered, "Read one." I unfolded the first letter. My hands shook with every line. No. What does it say? It says the financial reports were changed. Changed by who? I turned another page. My uncle. She stared at me. Daniel's father. I nodded slowly. He forged company records. I grabbed another letter. This one says Sophia Bennett's parents were blamed for stealing money. Her breathing became uneven. They never stole anything. I know. They were innocent. I know. My voice broke. They were framed. She covered her mouth. My parents kept saying someone would discover the truth. I looked at another document. There are signatures. Real ones. No, they're fake. Silence filled the room. I closed my eyes. My family owned everything because of this. You didn't do it. But I benefited from it. You were a child. It still feels wrong. She stepped closer. Ethan. I don't deserve your forgiveness. You don't need forgiveness. I carry their pain. You carry kindness. That's not enough. She held both my hands. Listen to me. I looked into her tearful eyes. Guilt belongs to the guilty. My family. No. My name. No. My choices. Those matter. She smiled through her tears. You are not responsible for another man's greed. I wanted to believe her. Before I could answer, My phone rang. The screen showed Daniel's name. I looked at Sophia. He never calls unless he wants something. Answer it. I accepted the call. Ethan, Daniel said cheerfully. I was thinking about stopping by your father's office today. My heartbeat quickened. Why? I tightened my grip on the phone. Why do you suddenly want to visit the office? Daniel laughed. Can't a cousin be curious? You've never been curious before. People change. I'll call you later. I ended the call before he could answer again. Sophia looked at me. He knows something. I think so. We need copies. I nodded. Every page. I grabbed my phone. There's one person I trust. I called our company accountant. Emma, can you come to my father's office? Her voice sounded concerned. Is everything all right? No. I'll be there in 20 minutes. While we waited, another knock echoed through the room. A young woman stepped inside. I hope I'm not interrupting. I recognized her immediately. Olivia. She smiled politely. Daniel said you might need help organizing old files. Sophia quietly watched her. We're fine, I replied. Olivia noticed the letters on the desk. Her smile faded for a moment. So, you found them? I froze. You know these documents? She hesitated. I've heard Daniel mention old business records. What exactly did he say? He said some papers should never be seen. Sophia stepped closer. Why? Olivia lowered her voice. Because they could destroy everything. Before I could ask another question, Emma hurried inside carrying a portable scanner. You sounded worried. I need copies of every page. Emma looked at the documents. Oh, my God. You understand them. I've suspected missing records for years. Can you scan everything? Immediately. As Emma worked, Olivia quietly walked toward the window. She glanced outside. Daniel is coming. My heart raced. How far away? 5 minutes. Emma scanned faster. I almost have everything. Olivia reached into her purse. I brought a flash drive. I frowned. Why? In case you needed another backup. You planned this. I didn't trust Daniel anymore. Sophia looked surprised. Why help us? Olivia's eyes filled with regret. Because I finally realized he loves power more than people. Emma handed me the flash drive. Every document is copied. I slipped it into my pocket. Thank you. Headlights suddenly flashed through the window. Olivia looked outside again. He's here. Panic spread across the room. Sophia grabbed my arm. We have to leave. We hurried through the back door just as Daniel entered the building. Hidden behind the trees, I watched him storm into the office. Moments later, flames burst through the windows. Smoke filled the night sky. Daniel stood outside, smiling as the fire consumed every room. He believed every secret had turned to ashes. He never imagined the truth was already safe in my pocket. My hands trembled as I finished the letter. Do not answer hate with hate, my father had written. If you seek revenge, another family will suffer. Choose justice. Let the truth speak for you. That will honor me more than anger ever could. I folded the letter carefully. Mr. Harrison asked, "What will you do?" I took a slow breath. I wanted revenge. And now? I want the truth. He smiled. Your father would be proud. I left his office and met Sophia outside. She looked at me. You've been crying. I read Dad's letter. What did he say? He knew everything. She reached for my hand. What happens now? We end this. How? In front of everyone. The next morning, I walked into the company boardroom. Every board member sat quietly around the long table. Daniel smiled when he saw me. Cousin, you look tired. I didn't sleep much. You should relax. I will after this meeting. He laughed. What meeting? I placed the flash drive on the table. This one. Confused faces turned toward me. Daniel's smile faded. What's that? The truth. He leaned back. You're being dramatic. Emma connected her laptop to the screen. I'll begin with the financial records. Charts filled the display. She spoke calmly. These accounts never belonged to our company. A board member frowned. Who created them? Emma answered without hesitation. Daniel Carter. Daniel stood immediately. She's lying. I shook my head. No. Olivia entered the room. I helped him hide the accounts. Daniel stared at her. What are you doing? Telling the truth. You promised me. I believed you loved me. I did. She looked away. No. You loved control. The room fell silent. I placed the old letters beside the laptop. My father's office burned down. Daniel smiled again. So? I made copies first. His face turned pale. Mr. Harrison handed the documents to every board member. One by one, they read the forged signatures. A retired investigator, Marcus Hill, stood from the back of the room. I investigated this case years ago. Daniel swallowed hard. I had doubts then. Marcus held up the copied letters. These documents confirm those doubts. The chairman looked directly at Daniel. Do you have anything to say? Daniel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. For the first time in years, he had no lie left to tell. I looked at him without anger. I simply said, you stole our childhood, but you will never steal our future. Silence answered me. The truth had finally won. My hands trembled as I finished the letter. Do not answer hate with hate, my father had written. If you seek revenge, another family will suffer. Choose justice. Let the truth speak for you. That will honor me more than anger ever could. I folded the letter carefully. Mr. Harrison asked, what will you do? I took a slow breath. I wanted revenge. And now? I want the truth. He smiled. Your father would be proud. I left his office and met Sophia outside. She looked at me. You've been crying. I read Dad's letter. What did he say? He knew everything. She reached for my hand. What happens now? We end this. How? In front of everyone. The next morning, I walked into the company boardroom. Every board member sat quietly around the long table. Daniel smiled when he saw me. Cousin, you look tired. I didn't sleep much. You should relax. I will after this meeting. He laughed. What meeting? I placed the flash drive on the table. This one. Confused faces turned toward me. Daniel's smile faded. What's that? The truth. He leaned back. You're being dramatic. Emma connected her laptop to the screen. I'll begin with the financial records. Charts filled the display. She spoke calmly. These accounts never belonged to our company. A board member frowned. Who created them? Emma answered without hesitation. Daniel Carter. Daniel stood immediately. She's lying. I shook my head. No. Olivia entered the room. I helped him hide the accounts. Daniel stared at her. What are you doing? Telling the truth. You promised me. I believed you loved me. I did. She looked away. No. You loved control. The room fell silent. I placed the old letters beside the laptop. My father's office burned down. Daniel smiled again. So? I made copies first. His face turned pale. Mr. Harrison handed the documents to every board member. One by one, they read the forged signatures. A retired investigator, Marcus Hill, stood from the back of the room. I investigated this case years ago. Daniel swallowed hard. I had doubts then. Marcus held up the copied letters. These documents confirm those doubts. The chairman looked directly at Daniel. Do you have anything to say? Daniel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. For the first time in years, he had no lie left to tell. I looked at him without anger. I simply said, "You stole our childhood, but you will never steal our future." Silence answered me. The truth had finally won. I watched Daniel lower his head as 2 police officers placed handcuffs around his wrists. He looked at me. "Ethan, please." I stayed silent. "I never wanted this." I answered quietly. "You chose it." "I made mistakes." "You destroyed lives." "I can fix everything." I shook my head. "Some things can't be fixed." The officers led him toward the door. He stopped one last time. "Can you forgive me?" I thought about every lie, every stolen year, every tear Sophia had hidden. Finally, I replied, "I won't hate you." He looked hopeful. "But forgiveness is something you'll have to earn from yourself." He lowered his eyes. Without another word, he walked away. I expected to feel victorious. Instead, I felt tired. Sophia slipped her hand into mine. "What are you thinking?" "I thought revenge would feel better." "And it doesn't." She smiled softly. "Because this wasn't revenge." "What was it?" "Justice." I took a deep breath. "I think you're right." A few days later, we drove to the old riverside where we had spent every summer as children. The water flowed peacefully. I laughed quietly. I remember falling into the river. Sophia laughed too. "You blamed me. You pushed me." "I barely touched you." "You definitely pushed me." She smiled. "You still exaggerate." "So do you." We sat beneath the old tree overlooking the water. I looked around. Everything feels smaller. We grew up. I guess we did. She pointed toward a smooth stone near the riverbank. "Do you remember that?" I nodded. "We buried our little treasure there." You remembered. I never forgot. Together we cleared away the loose dirt. A small metal box appeared beneath the ground. I carefully opened it. Inside rested colorful marbles, an old photograph, and 2 folded pieces of paper. I unfolded mine. My childish handwriting made me smile. "Sunny and Sophia will always be best friends forever." I laughed through my tears. I couldn't even spell everything correctly. "You didn't need to." She opened her letter. "My promise says we'll never let anyone separate us." Silence settled between us. "I guess we failed," I whispered. She gently shook her head. "No. We were apart for almost 20 years. But we found each other again." I looked into her eyes. I stopped believing miracles existed. She squeezed my hand. "Maybe this wasn't a miracle." "What was it?" She smiled with tears in her eyes. "It was a promise that simply took longer than we expected." I smiled as I looked at the old ring on Sophia's finger. "I have a question." She laughed. "After everything we've been through, I'm almost afraid to hear it." I reached into my pocket. "I want to marry you again." "Aren't we already married?" "We are." "Then why ask?" "Because the first time, I married a stranger." She wiped away a tear. "And now?" "Now I know I'm marrying my best friend." She nodded. "Then my answer is yes." A week later, Lucas stood beside me near the riverside. He adjusted my tie and grinned. "You finally look happy." "I finally am." Mr. Harrison walked over. "Your father would have loved today. I think he's here with us." He never stopped believing this day would come. Emma smiled as she handed Sophia a small bouquet. "You deserve a beautiful beginning." Olivia stepped forward. "I know I don't deserve to stand here." I looked at her. "You helped us when it mattered most." "I'm still sorry." "I know." She smiled through tears. "Thank you." The simple ceremony began. The soft sound of the river surrounded us. I held Sophia's hands. "This time, I choose you because I love you." She smiled. "And I choose you because I never stopped." I slipped a new ring onto her finger. She placed one on mine. I promise, I said, to protect your heart. I promise, she replied, to protect yours. We kissed as our friends applauded. For the first time in years, I felt completely at peace. Later that evening, we sat together beside the river. The sunset painted the water with golden light. Sophia rested her head on my shoulder. What are you thinking? I smiled. I'm thinking about my father. What would you tell him? I'd tell him he was right. About what? About giving me one last promise to keep. She intertwined her fingers with mine. And what about us? I looked into her eyes. We'll write our own future. No more secrets. No more secrets. No more fear. No more fear. She smiled. I like that. I laughed quietly. So do I. I looked across the peaceful river and realized something I had searched years to understand. I had never lost my childhood best friend. Time had simply hidden her until we were both ready to find each other again. My journey ended without revenge in my heart. It ended with forgiveness, hope, and the family I thought I had lost forever. At last, I understood the greatest truth of my life. I had never married a stranger. I had finally come home.